Darlene,
She
Darlene,
did?
Darlene.
Maybe she wants you to pick her up. Pick me up.
I'll go get her if that's the case.
Well, good evening, everyone. Finally, the weather has decided to cooperate. So we are on week 6, correct?
Yes.
I'm going with whatever you say.
So with this, we actually get to move forward and get out of not just be in well, now we're in Exodus, but we get to kind of jump forward and see what happens. So talking about wandering.
Your puppy will get on.
I could get over, so I texted her and said that captain was moving, I came, other than that, I don't know. From somebody. Did you, came here, or did Darlene get it? I couldn't get it.
I told him stay home.
Huh?
I told him stay home.
Oh, I texted her because I lost her.
Yeah.
And I had my Darlene didn't answer, and so I texted her and said, captain's gonna get her.
We're all up here.
Kimmy was hitchhiking. She's on the
So-
side of the road.
Oh, she really started to walk?
No.
Oh, I thought she started to walk.
Yeah.
So, you know, the video, you know, starting out that video talking about, you know, being on a road trip. And some of us know what it's like to be on that road trip, you know, where there's nothing to do in the car.
That's why I always drive. I always have something to do with something.
Well, but, you know, if you think about it, when you were younger, I tried to always make sure I had a book with me. Nerd.
CD player with a backpack full of batteries.
No. I'm talking like even when I was a little kid, like
Yeah.
before CDs existed.
That's the deal.
So there was, you know, there was those times where it's, you know, you're trying to, you're traveling through, and you got nothing to do. Now I know. So here's the thing. He's talking about like now you got the GPS and stuff, and his talk's Australian. One of mine, I was actually just able to change it, so now Paddington is talking to me.
Snoop Dogg.
As Waze right now is Paddington because there's a Paddington movie coming out. So it can sound like Paddington and, you know, telling me my nice little directions. And, you know, you can change the voices.
I use an Atlas, it doesn't talk to me.
Even if you have one of those, these ones over here, it never had a time where they've had to travel that there hasn't been something for them to do in the car. Even when you were little, I remember, Lily, your first MP3 or MP4 player was a Sesame Street one. And it was about this big. Now the picture was about maybe the size of my watch face, if that. And it was teeny weeny little, but it was still something you could put down.
You guys remember playing the raindrop game? You ever do the raindrop race? When
Isn't
you're
that
driving.
all with the button and it has to go to the door?
No.
No.
It's when you're driving and it's raining.
yeah.
See the
And
raindrops.
then
Yeah.
two raindrops, and you see which one's gonna come down first. Yeah.
Or they speed boost.
Yeah. Or yeah, see if they come together. Yeah.
You know, and
Oh, that's what I thought.
That's all
Like
that.
the alphabet game,
Yeah.
on the alphabet, on the side,
Or
or
the
the,
states.
state.
State license plates.
Yeah.
and you know, and that was good.
Eyesight.
That was good as long as there was light out. But as soon as it got dark out, then it was just like, well, might as well. You could try to sleep, but not if you're okay. So there were three of us in the back seat of the car, and it was always, oh, he's touching me. He said, and it was, we had a big car too. It was like an old, it was an old police car. I remember you're breathing my air and all this. I don't know how my parents ever managed to. And maybe that's why we didn't go on very many family trips with the three of us when we were younger. These days, you guys, even if you guys, whatever they want to ask me, are we there yet? Are we there yet? I tell them, you've got your phone in your pocket. Look up where we're going, and it'll tell you if we're there yet. It'll tell you how long. You guys can look that up on your own. Now imagine the Israelites. They've left Egypt. They're going. We've already heard that, you know, they got all like, yay, we were saved from slavery and all this. Then, oh my gosh, we're going to die. And then, yay, the Egyptians, we got through the Red Sea and everything's great. Oh my gosh, we're going to die. And now it's, are we there yet? 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 Well,
I have a whole new perspective now, though. since Code Blue opened up, I have a whole new perspective on that. Like, I think that some of the Israelites wanted, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think they complained because they secretly wanted to go back to being slaves, because that's what they do. Like, we helped quite a few of the people over at Code Blue, and a couple in particular, or one in particular, like really helped and put resources in, and Dee and my wife and I really, and they blew it all up and went back to being on the streets. And I was like, I think they, so, yeah, well,
Well, it's
just the comfort of
they
knowing
just
it.
know it's there.
Yeah.
They can go get it anytime, you know.
And when sometimes when you, how do you manifest that is you complain about what, you look for something wrong that'll justify you wanting to go back. And so the Israelites are walking and they're complaining and denying everything and doing everything. And secretly, they were afraid of what was on the other side, they just wanted to go back. I think that's my new perspective.
Oh, yes. It's also kind of like a Stockholm syndrome.
How many domestic abuse victims go back to their abuser? Yeah.
Well, and
That's what I told Rick.
In-
You might not be able to do it when you're awake, but I'll be.
In both of your instances, if there was, I'd be turning you to it, because I have a feeling you two would be the
No,
more
you would
abusers.
You would have to hit me first, and
Yeah,
I would,
he'd be
I
gone,
would
he'd be
back.
done.
He did swing at me once.
Then
He
again,
was sleeping.
Dad, he's
Rick
touching
wanted
me.
for his mom. I never remember, he did it to me once and I told him.
I have done that. If you don't stop, I will stop the car. And there, I have, okay, maybe I shouldn't,
oh, I need to make my kids get out.
I was gonna say, maybe I shouldn't share. I have,
My husband threatened to, but he never did.
We, the only trips we ever, we didn't have a car growing up, so the only trips I ever went on was with the Corps. And I had, I distinctly remember Major West Geddes pulling the van over, telling everybody, all right, get out. Y'all wanna act like this? I ain't taking you. And we're on the highway like, you're calling our moms. I ain't calling nobody. You know? Yeah.
Tiffany, she'll tell you, I did it.
I have,
You have?
I've brake checked my kids before.
It's fun.
None, obviously they don't get it. And there have been times when like, ooh, they have got me, but I'm in the middle of traffic. Or I am thankful that my fan does not say the Salvation Army on it. Because we had a time
Oh, yeah.
where our fan in Massachusetts not only said the Salvation Army, it was an old one from DHQ, this was bright blue,
Oh, no, let me get this one.
serving the Salvation Army in Massachusetts
We
since
were-
blah, blah, blah.
Well, they used to.
Oh, well, yes, but, so that was also our personal.
But that was our personal car, that's the only vehicle we had.
So we're at DHQ, which is over by like where the Patriots play, Foxborough, it's right there. And we were over by the stadium, there's like a shopping area. We had went to DHQ, went to go get lunch, we're coming back, she's like 4 something, he
No,
is.
she was 5 when we got
5.
there, so.
So we're brand new, he's like 3, she throws up in the car, in the van. She's screaming. He starts screaming because she's screaming, and she's freaked out. Like, what are we gonna do? Because they're screaming. And finally, I went, "Would everybody just be quiet?" And I'm like, I pull into a gas station, and I'm doing this as I'm cleaning. Can't believe you stupid mother. So I get to the office the next day, and the phone rings, and it's DHQ. It's the general secretary. He goes, Mike, I got a call. I got a call that that your van was at a gas station and you were yelling at small little children in the van and cussing them out. And I wasn't cussing, but somebody in the gas station thought that they were program kids, and that here I am, the pastor, yelling and telling them to shut up and everything else. And he's like, listen, we all have bad days as parents, so we go. I understand, I've been there. Just remember. So ever since then, We have a code word, which I thankfully she did this and I remember it. Even the other day, we took a bunch of code blue to go get social security cards, and I almost snapped out at Hazleton at the social security office. I'll tell you that story later if you're interested. But she goes, remember, you're branded. We're branded. Can't do that now. We're branded. So yeah, we've been there. But I think with the Israelites though, too, and in here, what we don't think about is you travel with your own family, it can get annoying. How many Israelites were there? Traveling.
Over a million.
And so they're a giant caravan community. So imagine, that would be what? That would be Harrisburg. Yeah, or Scranton. That would be the population of Scranton going around. And everybody would be fighting.
That would be everybody who's heading to Philly for the parade
For the
tomorrow.
parade, yeah.
I was gonna say, so that's.
Going from Egypt to Israel.
If I were the cops, I'd say, you're on your own.
Well, and so that's the thing is that you have all these people who are just, complaining and all this stuff. And the thing is that what he talked about in the video didn't even talk about when Moses wasn't even listening to God. And Moses got mad and, was told to do this, to talk to the rock, and he hid it instead because he's frustrated. And he's not listening either. And they're all just like, ugh.
And you know what? I can hear it now. Moses was the major, and everybody had a question about what was happening. There's a million people, and the answer was always, I don't know. You got to ask the major. I don't know. You got to go ask the major. It's like, how do I get an appointment with Moses? Like, do I got to set up with Aaron and schedule something?
So that's part of why, there was told,
And then
get these
he
people.
gets punished because he got mad. That's a shame.
I got a call from the general secretary for yelling.
So,
We'll get to see the promised land because he had a temper.
but think about that. So it says that no Israelites have seen this land. This is probably the land that they came from when they came to Egypt.
Well, it's been
Out of
400
the
years.
famine. It's been long, it's been
Like, no, 2000 years.
like 600 something.
All right.
It's like, I don't know. Anyway, it's been a long time. And now all of a sudden, so it's like, okay, we gotta get our representatives there to go check how it's going, report back. So I can't even imagine, how it could have been during those 40 days they were gone. Listen, are they back out? Are they back out? Are they back out? Are they back out? No. Well, how long has it been since I asked? 30 seconds. That type of thing. So they get back.
Well, we're 40 days into the new year. So that would be the equivalent. It would have been from January 1st to now. Yeah.
Yeah, and now they're all, and they get back and they're like, it's
Not when you're waiting for it.
beautiful. I mean, it's got plum, milk, and honey, and it's great. But oh my gosh, there's giants there. We can't do it. We can't. Yeah, and only 2 of them said no. God said that we're going to be able to go there, so we're going to be able to get it.
Actually seen the promised land. None of the original,
Well, and that's the thing is that they were
I never knew that.
they were almost there. The trip wasn't that long. Yes, they were walking, but the trip should not nowhere near have taken 40 years. It was.
Where's your family originally from?
Or we're,
No.
we're Indians.
Oh, okay.
Indian.
On both sides?
Down on Susquehanna River.
On both sides?
No, well, no, Russ has, I don't know if he has Indian or
Grandpa was
not.
but yeah.
I'm almost full blooded.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, Lorraine, what about
My
you?
husband might have blue.
Lorraine.
Okay. Lorraine, what about you? Where's your family originally from?
Are you French?
Well, my
Oh,
mom-
Pennsylvania Dutch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Pennsylvania Dutch, right?
So Germany? Originally? A little bit?
Separate, mine's 57.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm that way too.
Well, yeah, and my father
A
originally,
lot of it, yeah.
see if he knows what this, have you heard of Pennsylvania Dutch? That's where my dad lived.
Okay.
And my mom lived in Pennsylvania.
Where, so your family, your Salvation Army over in England and then Canada across there, Do you know,
But
do you know what your great grandmother's, do you know where she grew up looked like?
Grandson is.
My great-grandmother?
Yeah, did you ever hear word of what that looked like?
My great-grandmother, well, she was young when they came across one of the lakes on a sled from Canada into upstate New York.
Mine.
What's your mom? Partially.
Um,
So yeah, so they ended up, my parents, they ended up in, Broken.
So do you know, have you heard about back in that lane, have you heard stories about what it was like back there?
No, not really, no.
My family's I'm Polish, the majority of me is Polish from my grandmother. And here's the other one. And the other one is I'm also largely Armenian. So, and then are largely Irish. Armenian is Turkey. So the Turkey, and that was, yes. Bohaj, that's where Bohajin comes from. When they came over to Ellis Island, they came. But all I know about that area was the Turkish massacre, was that my great-great-grandparents escaped the Turkish massacre when Armenia was basically overrun. And all that to say,
You know the people took your land.
yeah, and you don't know what the land looked like, and then, all that to say, by 600 years, if we can't tell 3 generations back what our
That's why I don't
family came
understand
from.
how they know all the way back whose descendant is who. Well, we can't even tell.
Yeah. Oh no, it's more than word of mouth. In the Jewish
Yeah,
tradition,
because,
in the Jewish
and then it
tradition,
stops.
you do 2 things in the Jewish tradition. You from the moment you can sit up, you sit under the elder of the family, and they read you 2 things every day. They read you the Torah.
Yeah.
They'll read a portion from the Torah, and you will memorize it at a certain point. And we got to actually sit in a doctor's office where a grandfather was having the Torah reading with his grandson. And so you memorize it up to, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible. And then the other thing is your family lineage.
The Shema is what they are.
Yes. And so that's why if you go in Matthew, and the very first thing in Matthew is the genealogy of Christ. Because I know.
I know.
If
it's
you
like-
need to go to sleep, that's the best thing to read. Yeah. But it's also fun to look back and see David's in there. The prostitute Rahab is in there. Like you see all these people like, whoa.
To see two women
2
listed in
women
there.
in there, yeah. And so, so you learn that in the Jewish tradition, they sit and teach you that at the feet of the grandfather or
How do they know?
they keep meticulous track of it. Yeah,
But then all of a sudden it stops, so
They-
you think it would have got lost.
yeah.
Just like supposedly the lost books of the Bible.
Oh,
I mean,
that's another, yes.
Oh,
Most of like the important people that are brought up basically just like the lore buildings and how it's not a communication.
No,
Because I don't know.
well, yes, they're related and that's the part of the Bible you do this because you gotta remember we came from 2. Yeah, but no, that's ridiculous. They would have brought,
Which side, but we don't know about the other side.
Yeah, we're French too.
oh, okay,
Our 51st uncle was St.
oh, okay.
Kicked out of.
See, and they, and there's, it's just like now, you can,
seriously, who really cares what we all?
well, no,
You
but
can track
they're-
back on my grandmother's side of the family, you can track back to Queen Isabella.
but the reason I was saying it is because they were saying, how did they keep track of from who was in the promised land to now who's going back to the promised land? They would have taken that information with them. That would have been somebody in every family whose job it would have been to keep track of it and to bring it with them. And if you remember, when they became slaves, they still colonized Egypt. Like it was, when everybody came over to New York, and Erie had a lot of it growing up. There was little Italy, little Germany, it was like that in Egypt. But the slaves, even though they were slaves, they were not very much different than the American slaves later on. That's how we got the neighborhoods, because when they were all emancipated, stuck with who they knew, And that's what we do as people, we stick with who we know. So that, there would have been somebody to carry that along.
You know,
Who is it?
When they were all traveling for those 40 years and they died, what did you just bury them all in the road? Let them go? I mean,
How do
But they just want to bury them.
Okay,
There's thousands of them dying at a time.
It would have been kind of what they did during the
But
Oregon.
you would think they would dig up and find bodies and stuff then.
Oh, they have. Oh, yeah, archaeologists have still, are still finding bones.
That could be my ancestors.
And if you remember,
Dying just with the animals.
well, if you remember when they, the,
Too many like
when they-
pieces to be burned.
when they crossed the Jordan, in the Jordan, they set up the 12 rocks, which stood for the 12 tribes of Israel, and they called it the Ebenezer. This was and that's where we get the tombstone idea, is from an Ebenezer. An Ebenezer means I am marking this place as a memorable instance or person or whatever. And so, but they didn't have grave markers.
So many
They-
bitches, right?
well,
And-
they-
But the stone.
Yeah, well,
so many in there that
They would
are
put the
dead.
pertinent information on the boxes, so like on their coffins, if you will, or what. So that's why when they found Jesus, I forget which brother, on the box it said, "Son of Joseph, brother of Jesus Christ," which is one way of showing the importance of Jesus historically, because they wouldn't put
I
the name
knew
of
we had a
it.
brother James.
I think it might have been James. They found his, what is it? Sarcophagus, and on the box it was engraved, son of Joseph. They always would put that, son of Joseph of Nazareth. They would put the father and the town, and that was usually it. But if they were related to somebody of significance, they would put that person there, and they said, brother of Jesus Christ. So all of that information would have been on whatever was buried. They didn't have tombstones, if you will, but they would have done that, mass graves, I imagine, and they had to have done that forever. Think of when Elijah was Mount Carmel, they go and they wipe out all of the other tribes that were there that were running. What are they going to do with those bodies? You know, they left
That's
them
where my
there.
father was born around time.
Oh, see, there we go. He should have been named Elisha. You know, and not Baal. If he was named Baal, that would have been really bad.
Wars that they said in there, 24,000 people killed and
10,000.
10,000. So,
But didn't some of those buried in caves?
Yes.
tunnel, yeah, tombs.
Yeah, they would make tombs. Yeah. And they would have mass tombs, and they'd feed them to animals. There was all kinds of ways. And that does no different than later on in the wars, like Revolutionary War, things like that.
Oregon Trail.
Next time.
That's my honor.
The Oregon Trail, when they went out there, Lewis and Clark, the Gold Rush. Yeah, they did.
But
You guys go for the weirdest ones. Like, where do they put the bodies? Next question is, where do they go to the bathroom? It's a good question, though. Like, I never really thought about it.
That would be hard job.
I never really
just
showed
this
a great
chapter alone was an awful lot of fighting, war taken over, and complaining.
So we read it again.
Well,
Do you feel guilty? That's called the Holy Spirit convicting you. That's what that is.
I read it today, but it took me a long time to read it, and it was very hard to read.
so in the middle of all this,
Even in the story form, it was hard to read.
he didn't go, he went into like the whole aspect of not listening, having to wander and not following, like, this is your direction to get from point A to point B, and deciding, instead of going the straight way, and so he didn't even touch on some of the other stuff that happened in here. I mean, there is a pretty crazy story that happened in this chapter. Yes, there's multiple, but for those of you who, like Captain Mike, doesn't know where his book is.
I know what the original is.
Oh, so I'm not the only one who can't find my book.
So there's the story of Balaam in there. So this is how it's put in the book. Talking about sending the people in to look here, to look here, to look here, and things just aren't working out. So with results such as this, local kings were intimidated by Israel's forces. One king, Balak, ruler of Moab, called on a pagan pagan diviner Balaam to curse the Israelites. Caught between assurances of wealth from Balak and God's command not to curse them, Balaam was in it alone. He finally mounted his donkey to head out to Moab, but the donkey refused to move. Balaam tried his whip, and the donkey suddenly started talking, objecting to unfair treatment. Donkey's like, did I ever hurt you? No. So why are you whipping me? Because you're not moving, you stupid animal.
No.
And
You know
then the
what he
donkey,
said? You know what he said? I'm so excited I get to say this in church. He would have said, jackass. That's what he would have said right there. That's what it was. It's in the Bible, that's right. That's the only time I get to say it. I'm really excited.
Like, it's normal out here.
Yeah.
I'm doing this fine. The donkey's talking to me. It's like,
and then the donkey says, open your eyes and see why. Then Balaam saw the angel of the Lord in the road opposing him. As a result of this strange occurrence, Balaam began encouraging Eve to tell Balak what God wanted him to hear. Israel will be blessed, Moab will be cursed.
And it would have been normal because, no, so honestly, because he would have. Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I have that like God Shrek.
But
The donkey never stops talking.
what was his job? Why did Balak call him? He was how did they describe him as? A mysticist?
He was a pagan diviner.
Pagan diviner. He would have been in what the equivalent today of what we say about like Wiccanism, witchcraft, the house across the street, like that kind of thing. So more than likely, a lot of when you go back, there's a lot of snake charmers, whatever you want to call them in the Bible. There's a lot of them, and you see them actually pop up quite a bit. And the stuff they would do, you got to remember, they're dealing with a lot of stuff that's just kind of growing and stuff. And you know, if you pick the wrong mushroom, you start seeing and hearing stuff, and they think that's, yes. So there was hallucinations that they dealt with. But even more than that, back then there was real evil spirits. We know this. We see the pigs when Jesus is confronted by the pigs. The demons are in the pigs. The demons are there, and so forget donkeys. Jesus is seeing pigs talk, and he cast them over the ledge, and they start suicide diving. So we do see it later on too. So more than likely, he would have, whether it be through hallucinations, whether it be for whatever, that's not outside the realm of what he did. And I think also, here's a big tip I always do with the Bible. I guarantee that's not how he responded with so cool a calmly. Like, I think the Bible does a bad job sometimes of like putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. Like,
because even when they did the Christ dying on the cross, it always made it look so
very, yeah.
Listen,
calm and.
Brutal.
if
Brutal.
I'm like
After seeing
on an animal and I'm hitting it because it's not going to say, whoa, what's going on? I'm like, ah!
Yeah.
Although that would probably be like when my squeal would be like, I would either pass out or need new pants. But the fact that it's like, what are you doing? Have I ever done anything to you? And why are you hurting me?
And he's
And
not,
the donkey's not trying to be a smart aleck. He's saying,
not trying to be a smart ass. Ah, so, I love this thing. I got so excited. Oh, man.
ladies and gentlemen, he's leaving in 10 minutes.
But the donkey's also not talking about himself. The donkey is not talking, the spirit that's in the donkey, which we see as the angel of the Lord in a minute, is using that as a metaphor. Yeah, exactly. That's right. We see the angels, it's like howdy doody. But it's a metaphor for you're trying to hurt my people. What did my people ever do to you? Like that's what you're trying to stop this. And that's when he sees the angel.
And that's when it wasn't just, oh, now he opened his eyes. It was God revealing to him. So So here he is, and he's like, okay, whoa, all right, not gonna do this, not gonna go mess with them, I'm gonna go tell the king.
I wonder if the revelation was just that he finally sees the angel, like, and it was the angel talking through the donkey the whole time. So he literally was a ventriloquist donkey, like, you know. Oh, we've already had the discussion of what angels look like, and that's even more weirder than
Probably different
talking
kinds of
donkeys.
angels,
Oh, there are, but
But then here's the thing.
that
is
would have freaked me out more than the donkey.
You had you had this king who was trying to like, well, just go curse them, it'll be okay. So Balaam stopped and didn't do it and went back to him and said, listen, God's gonna bless them. Sorry, Moab's cursed, but in the meantime, the Moabite women were doing more damage to Hebrew solidarity than Balak's army ever could. Because, well, you got these 40 years that they're wandering. They're not just, it's not just a deserted island. It's not just like, this is a giant room and they're just all kind of like walking around, you know. You see, you know, or like you're watching the cartoon and it's showing how they're like traveling from one place to the other and it's all like swirling and all this stuff. You know, but it's not, but it ends up going through somewhere. Even if Lily says she's gonna walk home from school,
which takes like an hour.
which does take time, but I know that it's gonna take her longer than what it would me to walk from the high school to our house, because I know that they're gonna walk this way and they're gonna be talking along the way, and then they're gonna stop at Dunkin' Donuts,
Wrong coffee.
Oh, my God, sidetrack.
and then they're gonna stop somewhere else, and then she's gonna go to her friend's house because that's where her friend lives, you know, say goodbye to her friend. Then end up staying there for a while. It's not along the way, they weren't just going a straight way. They're going through other areas, there's other people out, it's not like it's.
They didn't. They did it to themselves. And I just had this thought too. Like, you know, if you look at the Bible, this will preach. Captain, remember this or a future sermon. If you look at the Bible, it says Jesus redeems everything, right? So they're coming from Egypt to Israel, right? And it took forever. When Jesus and Mary and Joseph had to flee because Herod was after them, where did they go? Back to Egypt. Jesus, and this is just what I thought of, Jesus literally, this was in the midst of fighting and disobedience and complaining, which is why that trip took so long. If they would have just shut up and listened, they would have gotten there so much quicker. And all of this, Jesus literally redeems that trip back by being faithful, because the angel says, take your son, flee. And so, Joseph is the one that is redeeming it by being faithful and listening and going. And we always, we talk about that, even the redemption of them being cast off for that time from their land. Jesus redeems that because he was literally cast off from his land. I'm not even welcome in my own home. And he grows up he grows up in Egypt. But we forget about that, because by the time we get back to Jesus, he's 30. The only time we see him is baby, 12, 30. And those in between, that's where they tried to write the other books that are really dumb and stupid. If you read them, he's jumping off of the roof and flying and doing weird stuff. But it's on. But he spends the first 12 years or however long he was there. We don't know. We don't know how long he was in Egypt. But he spends at least the first 12 years of his life in Egypt, growing up. And he's not a slave, but he redeems his forefathers' time there. So there's redemption through Jesus in every part. We just have to open our eyes and see it.
So even in the midst of,
Yes.
okay, all right, God said that we're gonna have to wait this long because of the doubters. They still couldn't stay faithful to him. It's like, I know that there's a million and a half of us, but
I wonder how many there really were doubting. of the, it had to have been a larger number of consensus.
So it said that the reason that it was the 40 years was because of the 40 days that they were gone
Yeah.
and Onyx.
Yeah.
Which go back to how many days was Jesus on earth after he arose? So there's all that.
But I just want to
But-
highlight out a million who are like the complainers.
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm
Anyway.
going on a sidetrack. See, I got sidetracked.
So, so all this is going on. Then we got the guys.
Sorry.
No,
we got
she's
the
pointing out
we
me.
got the guys in the group.
Yeah. It's always our fault, isn't it?
Well, it says,
You guys ate the apple.
what it says in here is that when they were saying somewhere, well, the guys decided that they were kind of tired of all the Israelite women. So hey, these Moabite women.
Listen, that's a long trek, all right? You know, you're not exactly seeing your
So
women
not,
have done up
so
nice
now, not only are they getting intimate with them, they're now following their gods. In the midst of all this, they're still not listening. Listen, it has one point in here where it says that an Israelite man brought into the camp a Midianite woman right before the eyes of Moses and the whole assembly of Israel, while they were weeping at the entrance to the tent of meeting.
Did Moses marry one?
He
Yeah, so
married
it-
one.
Yeah, I thought you did.
Well,
I
Well,
read
I
it,
know,
but
but Moses didn't get to, remember, Moses
But-
didn't get to see the end.
That was before all of this.
Right.
That was actually before, listen, I don't know, I'm just probably saying what the Bible says.
Number one rule, whenever the team's traveling, never bring a woman into the room when the team is on the road. You can ask any
When
team.
Phineas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, so Aaron's grandson, the priest saw this, he left the assembly, took a spear in his hand and followed the Israelite into the tent. He drove the spear into both of them right through the Israelite man and into the woman's stomach. Then the plague against the Israelites was stopped. But those who died in the plague numbered 24,000. So that's what it was talking about.
Oh, hold on. What was the part that didn't receive it? Like what he did or why? Catching him. He wasn't being faithful, bringing in. They were not instructed to cohabitate, if you will. Like, and he is cohabitating, and also, how did I put this? Sometimes, for the group, you have to make an example, and word will get around pretty quickly if you become part of the hanky panky shish kebab club. And so, but it's what happened, you know. So that's how I always interpret it. That he made the example, like, guys, we're gonna cut this out. That's literally a little extreme, but
So it says that the Lord said to Moses, Phineas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, has turned my anger away from the Israelites. Since he was as zealous for my honor among them as I am, I did not put an end to them in my zeal. Therefore, tell him I am making my covenant of peace with him. He and his descendants will have a covenant of a lasting priesthood, because he was zealous for the honor of his God and made atonement for the Israelites. It's because they're going out and finding the people from the wrong side of the tracks, the people who are following all these other gods, lowercase gods, who are doing the wrong thing, not believing in the one true God, and not only doing it, but doing it right in front of everybody else and said, see? Because they had no cares left to give.
I always look at Aaron as like the general secretary. Like Moses was the DC, and in the Salvation Army, the DC usually doesn't do the dirty work. It's usually the general secretary that'll give you a call and tell you when you're doing something wrong. And so I always picture Aaron as like he was the in this case, the executioner.
It was Aaron's grandson.
Daddy Shishkabab?
No, it was Aaron's grandson who did the shit.
Oh, yeah.
But either way, it was,
Under orders, though.
this isn't right. And so this is where, come up to the point where now it's been about the 40 years, and it's like, okay, But now Moses is realizing he's not gonna be able to go in either.
Keeping a spear in the house.
So, yeah, there's a lot in there. It says Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in Moab, as the Lord said. He buried him in Moab in the valley opposite Beth Peor, but to this day, no one knows where his grave is. Moses was 120 years old when he died, yet his eyes were not weak nor his strength gone. And it was because it was time for them to go in,
And
and he wasn't allowed to go.
Moses doesn't see the promised land. However, when we fast forward to the transfiguration of Jesus, when he's up on the mountaintop, who does he see but Moses? So Moses actually received a greater gift because he's held in esteem in heaven, kind of. Elijah was taken away, Elisha, and then Moses, even though he died, he wasn't taken away on earth, he's still seen later in the transfiguration as being held higher. So he did get a reward.
Yeah.
Nicely goes back and put that Bible study.
Stop. Now you heard everything we said about you.
I didn't miss anything.
So, the good news,
So did you heard about the shish kebab hanky panky club? There we go. You're welcome, Facebook.
Go in the bathroom.
Oh my goodness, I'm over here cussing in the chapel and it's on Facebook. I know all about that. But I'm gonna get a call later, aren't I? That's right.
so,
It is, and it offends people.
Right.
so here's the thing.
Get your kind of size.
Getting, the good news is that we finally gotten to the point where they're about to enter in. And so next week we get to hear about that. And I don't know if I have the next paper, but I think everybody stayed for Bible study so I can get it before we finish.
Oh, that
This
is.
is today's one.
But-
It is?
You know, it's getting really bad when you feel like you have to take your phone and see what is it.
Well, I'm glad that you're excited that you don't want to miss anything. So,
Wasn't sure what I was.
Oh, by the way, if anybody ever tells you the Bible is boring and there's no action, tell them like
It's not.
You're not
it is.
listen,
Damn.
you just tell them not to read Leviticus and Numbers, because that's the rules and the numbers.
And the other part we have to remember too
No,
is,
that you have to understand it all.
well, and yeah, we're not intended to.
Yeah.
Our brains
You're
are
gonna
not.
understand what God wants you to understand, and it's gonna, to your life.
Then they go and
Change
take
you.
off, I just saw it here. Why did they disrobe? Ooh, I saw it here. Moses had to disrobe Aaron, was it? Take him up on the mountain. And I
Oh,
didn't
when
understand
he like anoints Aaron,
that. No,
they're in charge there,
You said this
or prepares.
No,
prepares-
and no, he had to
That's
put
what-
his son up, then he had to put his son up in place of him, and it's like, they're just skipping all over in this book.
Well, and then
That, it's like all over in here, and
there is, and
that's another part of the Bible.
the thing about the Old Testament, no matter what translation you read, the thing we always have to remember is that we're under the new covenant with Christ, where, not saying God can't do what he did in the Old Testament, but with Christ paying that ultimate price, we're under this new covenant of just following him, accepting him into our lives. He's paid all of these. So the wrath and vengeful God, which don't get it twisted, God is jealous, God is wrathful, he's loving, he's all those at the same time, which is what our brains can't comprehend. But that wrathful God is really not seen now as it was back then. So we get into the little things of it. And there's a lot of what we used to call crossing the bridge in training, where there's a lot of ceremonial or cultural significance of why people did things that may have gone back no different from like Native American traditions and other traditions that we have. in there as well. So it's digging deeper down, which we're not expecting everybody to do.
This one went from one subject to the next, to the next, to the next. Big time.
I like your bookmark.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm glad you can.
I like that bookmark.
All right, let's,
That's what I was talking about.
Is that what-
Yeah,
I had
those
a
springy there.
string and I made it, I glued it on.
so it was because, at the, when they got to, Maribel, where Moses was just supposed to talk to the rock. Moses got mad, he's mad at everybody else. I was like, all right, everybody, you need something to drink, and hit the rock instead of just trusting and doing how God said to do it. And Aaron was right there, and Aaron's like, just smack it. And Aaron was encouraging him. So that's why,
You know, you just wrote it
Aaron-
in or whatever.
because Aaron wasn't gonna make it into the promised land either.
Yeah, no.
So it says, Aaron will be gathered to his people, he will not enter the land I gave the Israelites, because both of you rebelled against my command at the waters of Meribah. Get Aaron and his son Eleazar and take them up on Mount Hor. Remove Aaron's garments and put them on his son Eleazar, for Aaron will be gathered to his people, he will die there.
And Aaron died instantly.
And he died,
They were preparing.
the mantle, the priestly mantle that was on Aaron was being removed from him and put on his son. And so he died right there.
So see, for future, when officers get upset, you know that we're just like Moses, you know?
Well, that's not always good.
Encourage you.
That's right, that's true.
We
That's
don't
true.
understand.
That's true.
So, I mean, so it's a lot, so we finally got through this part, next week, we finally get the promised land.
I have been details
All right, so, since you have VeggieTales in your head, would you like to close this out in front?
Sure. God, we just thank you because your word is alive. And I want to thank you for these amazing people around the table because they're able to say, I don't always get it, but I want to know more. And that's a fire that's within this place. And we are so thankful, Holy Spirit, that you are putting that there, and we're learning more about your word. And God, we learned today that there can be frustrations in the church, there can be frustrations in our lives, and we know that you do have more for us, but we just need to remain faithful. And that's hard. It's really hard to do. We want to smack rocks. So help us, Lord, not to stray away. And so just bless now this Valentine's party and let it be a really joyful experience and let nobody's diabetes spread. A lot of
All
candy.
right, everyone, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Oh,